everyone, Emily here from Emily Reads, and today I have for you my May TBR. Now, I did say to myself, I'm not participating in another readathon. I did a readathon last month, I did 2 this month, and this month really I felt pressure to finish all the books that I needed to. And mainly by pressure, like I had to flip out a few books as I read. And I was reading knowing like this isn't going to work. Just didn't have enough time, or the mood wasn't right for me. So I had to keep flipping around my TBR for this month. So I wasn't going to do any more readathons. And then I saw the May the Force Be With You readathon, and just how the premise was laid out, and the fact that it was a non-competitive readathon, it appears to be. And so I decided, let's just go for it and let's just do it and see if the books that I was already planning on reading for the month and for the year would just apply to the prompts. And so they do. So here I am. I'm going to be doing May the Force Be With You readathon. And the originator of this readathon is Erik over at Break Even Books. So if you're not familiar with him, go check out his channel, go watch his announcement video. And I'm going to share with you my TBR. So the premise of this readathon is obviously Star Wars. When you join, you pick a character, and there are different prompts for each character. Then you pick what side you're on, whether you're light side or a dark side. I've chosen to go to the light side. Then there are prompts that you read for different abilities as you move up the rankings and so forth. I will explain all as I'm going through. I'm not going to go through all the different prompts for the readathon. I feel like the announcements videos will do that. So instead, I'm going to just share with you the prompts that I am doing and the books that I'm doing for those prompts. So first of all, you can be a human as like the default race. So you pick your race. And if you decide to be a human, you don't have to read a book. I have decided I want to pick Yoda race because I love, as you can see, I love Grogu or Baby Yoda. He's my trusty little companion there. And my students know that I love Baby Yoda. So I'm going with Baby Yoda. And that prompt, or I'm going with the Yoda species, haha. That prompt for that is a mystery thriller book or a book by your favorite author. So I decided I'm going to read The Decagon House Murders. And this is a book, it is by a Japanese author. It's translated. And the premise that it's very much similar and inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, which I absolutely love that book. So this is set on an island, and this island is known for, like, it's where a series of unsolved murders have taken place. And so this K University Mystery Club goes there on a trip, and someone in their club gets murdered, and then they're having to now survive and solve the murder as people keep getting murdered. So I am reading this for dual reasons. One, obviously the readathon, but two, this would fit in with my Reading Around the World challenge that I have set for myself, and then also the BookTube Besties Virtual Retreat back in February. Someone recommended this, so that's why I'm picking that up. The next book I plan on reading is now for my abilities. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 different prompts for the abilities. And so for sure, I got 3 books that I'm going to read with the abilities. The first book is, on the light side, is Plant Surge. Read a book with nature on the cover. And I mean, there's grass and there's trees. That's nature. And so I'm going to be reading Emma by Jane Austen. And I'm reading this because I'm part of a Facebook group And once a month, at the end of the month, we meet and we discuss a book that we've read together. We meet via Zoom. And we chose Emma for May because in June we are going to be reading Emma of 83rd Street or Emma on 83rd Street. I can't remember what preposition is correct. But it's Emma and something about 83rd Street. And that is a modern retelling of Emma. And so I suggested, hey, since a lot of us have not read Emma before, I've read Emma. A lot of people have not read Emma before or seen the movies. So I said, let's read Emma by Jane Austen so that we've got a foundation for the retelling. So that's why I'm reading this. The next ability is Force Valor, and a book that is less than 275 pages. And I'm going to be reading Wild Robot, or The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. This is a middle grade book, and it's about a robot named Roz, who she discovers that she is alone on a remote wild island. She has no idea how she got there or what her purpose is, but she has to survive. And so she is trying to adapt to her surroundings and learn from the animals that live on this island. I've heard really good things about this series, and I think, just like a nice lighter read after reading a murder, after reading a classic, I'm going to need that. It's going to be May. It's the last month of the school year, so that is always stressful for teachers. And then I have to throw in the fact that I have about 6 IEP meetings left to go, progress reports. The elevator at my school broke down. I'm on the 2nd floor, and I have students with mobility issues. So I actually had to move classrooms, which is great that like a teacher and we were able to switch flip-flop rooms. But I went from a nice sized room, like a fairly large room, to a room where we're basically on top of each other and can barely move around. So we're all kind of on top of each other, and we're all stressed out because we're just on top of each other. So, and then you throw in the fact that too, I'm going to be packing up rooms at the end of the year. I'm moving classrooms because I have a different position next year. So May is going to be stressful at school. So I just, with this TBR, I've really had to be intentional with picking what are books that I think I can actually read and accomplish and finish, and not something that's going to be hard for me to attend to and focus on. So hence Wild Robot. The next book for abilities, and I've decided I wanted to at least get 3 abilities. I figured I should be able to make it to read enough books for 3 abilities. That would be Transfer Force is what I chose, and that would be a borrowed book. So I have 2 ideas for this. I either am going to read Well Traveled by Jen DeLuca, which is her 4th book in her series about, it's a rom-com that's centered around a town's Renaissance fair. I've heard not so great things about this book, I will be honest. I really did enjoy the first one, which is Well Met, and the other 2 kind of were okay. This one I did not hear great things about. So either we'll read this. I just want to give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'm already thinking I might end up DNFing it. So if I do, then my Transfer Force borrowed book will be something that I pick up on Hoopla. I tend to listen to books that are rereads for me as I get ready in the morning as I'm doing dishes. So that's how I'll fit that prompt in. Then I need a weapon, because you need to have a weapon when you're fighting in Star Wars. And I am going for a lightsaber. And that prompt is read a book with the opposite color of your favorite color on the color wheel. So you look at a color wheel and you decide, you say, this is my favorite color. Then you look at the color wheel, and whatever color is on the opposite side of your favorite color on the color wheel, you read a book that has that color on the cover. So my favorite color is purple, specifically dark purple. So the opposite color on the color wheel is kind of like a yellowish green. And that was kind of a little bit of a challenge for me to find a book. Like most of the books that I have that have some kind of green is more green, but I feel like this has yellowish green on the cover. So this is The Spear That Cuts Through Water, and by Simone Jimenez. And this is, from what I understand, is a sci-fi fantasy retelling of Joan of Arc, which that right there, that whole premise just fascinates me. Joan of Arc has always fascinated me, and I don't know too much about it. I bought this yesterday at my independent bookstore to celebrate Independent Bookstore Day, and then I went and sat down at a local bakery, and I started reading it. I confess it, but I'll probably go back and reread those pages. I only read 3 pages, so not a whole lot was read. And the prose is just, it was like, just settling in with the prose. It's just beautiful. And so we're going to read that. Then you have partners. And so your partners are people that are going to help you in your fight. And so I have allies. And so for this, you have to read 2 books. And you have 2 different prompts. Okay? So first is Rebel Alliance. You're going to read a book with multiple POVs. And for this one, I'm not going to lie. As soon as I saw that prompt, I was like, oh boy, that means long fantasy. And I have plenty of fantasy books that have multiple POVs, but they're long fantasy. And I'm really working hard at not reading long fantasy, not putting that on. I mean, Spear Cuts Through Water is longer, I admit it. I really didn't want to put long books on this TBR, again, because May is going to be stressful. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus well on long fantasies and focus enough on that world building and understanding all the politics. So I needed to find something that was shorter, that I would easier focus on, and that had multiple POVs. And so for that, I'm choosing Independence by Chitra Banerjee. I should have looked up how to pronounce her name. I'm not going to pronounce her name. I'm sorry. I'm going to butcher it. So that is the author. If you know how to pronounce her name in the comments, please tell me. I would love to be able to pronounce her name correctly. So this is the story. It's set in India, 1947, in Bengal. And there are 3 sisters. And from what I understand, this is the story of when there was a division between India and Pakistan, and then the partition of India is officially decided. And so India is now for Hindus, Pakistan is for Muslims. And so then because of that, then there are 3 sisters, and they're kind of separated because of their beliefs and I think probably marriage alliances. So I've heard really good things about this book, and it's about something that I just have no knowledge of. So I'm intrigued to read this to just get a better understanding of our world. My journal fell. Then the next book within my partner's prompt is Resistance. Read a book that is mostly one color. And so for that, I'm going to read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, because it's mostly purple. And that's by T. Kingfisher. And again, I was looking for something purposefully light and enjoyable. And I've heard wonderful things about this. I think this is middle grader YA. And it's 14-year-old Mona isn't like the other wizards charged with defending the city. She can't control lightning or speak to water. Her familiar is a sourdough starter, and her magic only works on bread. So that right there just sounds delightful. And it's just so funny to see an angry gingerbread man or angry sourdough bread starter. So again, I've heard good things about this from other people who have read this on BookTube. And again, I'm looking for something light and enjoyable and something that I can read. And I've been wanting to read this for some time, as soon as I heard about it. If I have time, and if I have the energy, then I'm going to go back and I will gain some more abilities. So one of the abilities is, for the light side, is read a nonfiction book. So I might read this book, and that would be Depression, Looking Up from the Stubborn Darkness. But this is by Edward T. Welch, and this I got a while ago. And this is a nonfiction book, so it would fit the prompt on the light side to read a nonfiction book. This is told from a biblical counseling perspective, on how to deal with depression and have hope in depression. And depression is something that I've struggled with on and off since my 8th grade year. And like, I'm just kind of thinking about where I've been recently, mentally, like, wow, I'm really am functioning and having some patterns of depression. And so just wanted to read something to kind of help work through that. I don't know if I'll finish this book this month because it isn't something that I want to rush through, but take my time with and really make sure that I'm in a good place mentally. So if I don't finish that, then I have other prompts that I'm going to use to help gain my other 2 ability levels. I'm not going to go for more of the light side prompts. I'm going to use some neutral prompts. So there are 5 neutral prompts that you can use that will apply for either the dark side or the light side. So for one is precognition. And with that, you use a random number generator to spin the number between 0 through 3. And whatever number you get, that's how many books that you have to read. So this can really kind of screw you over. And it could land on 3, and then you have to read 3 books. Or it could land on 0, and yay, you have fulfilled that prompt and gained that ability. You don't have to read anything. I landed on 1. Yay! Something that I could manage. And so for that, I'm going to read The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. And I think this is a magical realism book. I don't know too much other than like the matriarch has passed away, and I think people are there at the funeral to collect their inheritance and family ties, I guess. I really don't know. But I do have this for reading plans for like the Our Fantasy Bingo and for other prompts. For reading through the alphabet, it does have a letter Q in it. So like it has a title with the letter Q in it. So that's another reason why I want to read this book. And then another ability prompt, again on the neutral side, is telekinesis. And for this, telekinesis is you can use a prompt from the other side. So because I'm on the light side, I can now use a dark side reading prompt to my advantage to gain an ability. And so that dark side prompt is Force Lightning, which is read a book you're shocked you haven't read yet. And so for that, this is my last book of the month. I don't know if I'll get to this book. That would be The Passage by Justin Cronin. I have had this book for at least 10 years now. I got this at a used book sale at my library in my hometown, and I haven't lived near there in 10 years. And all I know is that this is a dystopia or a post-apocalyptic book. It's supposed to be like it took the world by storm when it first came out. It's a trilogy, and I know like my sister loves this trilogy. She has said that she reads it every summer. And I've tried to pick this up a few times, and I've only read like the first few pages. I have it. I have to read at least the first and the second book this year. And I think I'm kind of at the point with this trilogy that, like, if I don't read it, I'm gonna just have to get rid of it because I've had this for so long. So that being said, maybe I'll read it in June. But those are my prompts. Those are the books that I'm reading. What are you reading in May? Is there anything that you think I need to prioritize more than I am? For sure, the main priority this month is Decagon House, because I need to have a species. And, well, I want to have a species. I want to be Yoda. And for sure, Emma, because I suggested it for the book club that I'm in, so now I have to read it. As always, enjoy yourself. Happy reading. And please like and subscribe.